Mr. Neil Conning painting.
So today I want to talk about likeness, mimesis in painting, and why painting something that looks like something might not be the truth that we think it is. This is at the heart of what figurative art is, some kind of mimetic translation of the world into paint, painting things that look like things. So if you're interested in art history, you might know this story from antiquity of Zeuxis and Parrhasius. This is from Pliny the Elder. Zeuxis and Parrhasius were two court painters. Zeuxis painted this painting that was amazing. It was a bowl of grapes, so good, so lifelike, so like the real thing, that some birds came down and tried to eat from the canvas. And so he thought he was the greatest painter ever, so good that nature itself was tricked. Zeuxis boasted to Parrhasius about this, and Parrhasius thought, nah, I'm going to do one better than that. So he invites Zeuxis over to look at his painting. Zeuxis approaches the canvas and goes to pull the drape that's covering the painting, only to discover that that is the painting. Zeuxis fooled the birds, Parrhasius fooled Zeuxis. One deceived nature, the other deceived perception itself. So is that what art is? A never-ending search for perfect mimesis that can even be competitive? I think we know that's not the case. Nevertheless, here I am trying to make a mimesis, because of course I'm caught in this middle piece. And that I think is a really interesting space to be. Somewhere between just trying to make copies of things that look like the things that they're supposed to look like, but also taking it somewhere else, somewhere slightly different. I'm interested in that space, and how difficult it is to operate in that space when you're doing something like this, which is clearly a commission that's supposed to look like these people. And I was thinking about this during this much more because I was struggling so much with this face, with in particular her smile, which lived in the uncanny valley for a long time. And you can see me struggling with that here, painting and repainting, almost directionless, trying to find this kind of moment where it feels okay. This idea of the uncanny valley, I think, is really important to this question of likeness, and important to that story. You know, Zeuxis painted a bowl of grapes, but had it been a person, it might not have worked in the same way, or in fact it definitely wouldn't have worked in the same way. So to talk about what the uncanny valley is, I'm just going to show this graph. So this is the idea that as mimesis of human likeness increases towards the lifelike, we are accepting of it up to a point, and it can even be cute and interesting, like a cartoon character. But as soon as we get to something like a humanoid robot with skin, or even a kind of hyper-realistic painting, I think we enter into this region of the uncanny valley. This is where waxwork statues are. Perfect likenesses maybe, but something off. There's something that our brain tells us there's something not quite right here, and I reject it, and it becomes creepy. We get stuck in the valley. I think painting exists very much in that world too, and I'm definitely saying this because it's a choice and not because of a lack of technical skill. That's definitely the reason. But really, the uncanny valley is a real thing. That's the warnings about going too far. Another interesting thing about that story of Parrhasius and Zeuxis is how likeness and mimesis is a kind of lie, is a kind of deception, a trick that's being played, and that's how it's framed in that story. And that's probably also why Plato banned artists and poets from his Republic. This idea that mimesis, no matter how good, is a deception, and it takes us further from the truth. I do find that a very interesting revelation, because it's counter to what people intuitively think, that if a painting is more accurate, it is closer to the truth. Whereas actually the inverse is fundamentally true. The greater the mimesis, the greater the deception. Now, I'm not saying that this deception is bad, like all deception is bad. When it comes to art and mimesis, I think it's okay. It just what do you get from the deception? That illusion of paint looking like things is something I find exciting. But it is interesting if you dive a little deeper into that story, how Zeuxis' painting is more the technical act of Mimesis. The grapes were painted in such a restrained and careful way that they resembled real grapes, whereas Parrhasius played on Zeuxis' expectations. He didn't anticipate the drape to be painted. So what then is this idea of likeness, of mimesis? At first glance, it's a technical question, a matter of proportion, drawing, accuracy, resemblance. But at its heart, it's not really about this kind of precision. It's about some kind of recognition. And that is subjective. It's fluid and kind of socially and personally constructed. This is why we can recognise our loved ones as they walk towards us from hundreds of meters away. It's just something about their gesture. This is also why people will say, oh, that looks nothing like them in that photo. They don't look anything like themselves in that photo. And somebody else equally close to them will say, no, they do. And they can both be right. So this question of likeness or recognition is a slippery fish. The point that I'm trying to make, or what I'm trying to get at, is the idea that just increasing technical excellence in achieving likeness is not the goal. It's about finding a balance between something being recognizable and having a presence of the person, but also tapping into something else, something other, some other kind of truth.